So we're prepping to do the windshield, to tint the windshield. We have some clips on the inside here. You can see the white spots. We're gonna yank those off, but what they did was they covered the dash. Seems like a simple, they also put what's called a tint rope or a soak rope is underneath here. Okay, what it does is catches the slip solution, catches all the stuff. You're gonna be spraying a lot of liquid to lay tint down. So a very, very important step, and then you have a dash cover, which is sort of a no-brainer. Especially those, this is a 2003, but especially now, everything that we see out in the open, all of the different electronics. You know, we got an Escalade over here in the shop that's got, what, 45 inches of screen. Okay, so this is an important step. Guys are getting prepped. We'll bring you in as we start to install. All right, guys, we're now in the prep stage. We come in, we've already scrubbed this down with a white glass safe scrub pad, and now we're just gonna go ahead and squeegee it off and take a look and make sure there's no contaminants. Even though it's not being installed on the outside of the glass, this part is really important so you don't get any contaminants in the film. And honestly, this is probably the time where most installers spend the vast majority of their time prepping glass properly, okay? Because that's where contaminants, where things get in, and now you're gonna see him do the inside of the glass. And we have some different things on this glass. You see he's gonna go after some adhesive here, and you got some things we're gonna remove here, but you have a big thing up there. You got all kinds of little things, but this is part of the prep process. He'll prep the entire thing, but we knew we specifically had some adhesive in the places that you're seeing him spray. He can already identify, hey, let me get this off. If they're too bad, you'll see people use a razor blade. Perfectly safe. Make sure it's stainless steel. You're all good to go. It's safe on glass. But as you can see here, he's just going through and just anything he can pick up with his eye, let's go ahead and clean it up. So this is an important step, and I would say most window tinters would tell you the thing they battle the most is their prep. I mean, once you know how to heat shrink, once you know how to install, the way to get the elite level result is on the prep. So this is an important step here, guys. All right, guys, if you've never seen, especially back windows or front windshields, you're using a dry shrink prep right now, okay? So what'll happen is, he'll spread this on, he's going to let it literally dry. What it'll do is it'll knock down any of the static that may happen. It'll allow him to actually shrink and mold the tint properly to the windshield. This is actually you'll see people use all kinds of different stuff, bounce dryer sheets. You'll see, you know, some people will take Irish Spring and rub it on their hand. I mean, there's a different, but this is way neater and simpler, just a dry shrink prep. And what'll happen is he'll let this go ahead completely dry, and it'll allow him to shrink the tint and mold it to the front windshield, which is exactly what you need, and we'll bring you in on that as well. All right, guys, we have selected 70% for the front windshield. What that means, very light. Okay, we're going to basically just go for the protection. You guys can probably see a little tint or hue on camera, but honestly, this is a pretty clear film. We're going for maximum heat rejection here. You'll see when they go to install, they'll do the traditional, some call it the H pattern, whatever. It's just the way that they mount this down. You can obviously see him, see these guys, expert knife skills. This is one of the things to keep in mind with window tint for the consumer that's never seen it. There's a lot of hand cutting. Now you can use plotters and things that make it easier, actually machine cut, but you'll watch these guys completely cut this out by hand, and now they're going to the shrink process. And the shrink process, honestly, was one of the toughest things for me to get good at, you know, just because it's not that easy for me. I got a lot better at shrinking film when I did windshield protection film, which is very difficult to install. The old windshield protection film was very difficult, but as you can see, they're cutting it to size. Basically, if you see the black on your windows, the dot matrix as we call it down here, that's where you want the windshield film, or the windshield tint, excuse me, to basically be behind there so it's invisible to you as the owner. And so these guys, will take you along as these guys start to form this and walk you through all of that. But right now they're just cutting it roughly to size. This will not, I'm guessing, not be the final cut, and we'll go into a final cut after we get it shrunk out. So as you can see, he's organizing fingers. So these things here, let's go over here, Zay. These things here, if you can pick up, these are called fingers. That's what you shrink out of the film, which molds it. Okay, it reduces the size, molds it to the windshield itself, to the glass itself, and you'll have these throughout. And that will keep you along and watch this process a little bit. But it's absolutely, positively the #1 thing that people struggle with. And this after cleaning, this is probably the most important to getting the perfect install. So you'll see they're going to use high heat guns, and they're going to start what's called shrinking the film, okay? When you shrink the film, you'll start to see some ripples in the film. So what you'll see now is we got prep going on the inside, final prep, but we also have what's called final trim, final cut. What you're going to see is we're going to try to leave about 1/8 of an inch, 1/4 of an inch into the black area. If you come too deep into the black area on the side, whatever, you can start to actually create more of an issue with how your film fits on a windshield or on a side window or whatever. So you'll see a really precise cut now. And so this would be your final trim all the way around. While you have final prep kind of going on the interior, you'll see the famous orange crush, which is, I don't know, basically been in tint since I've been around, it seems like, and using it to squeegee off, see if you see any more contaminants, but you'll see him start again from the middle, and now he's gonna go do and start a final cut on the top. So this is kind of one of those make or break moments, because if you cut it too short, you're gonna obviously see it. If you cut it too long, you're going to create problems when you try to fit the film on the inside of the glass. And so this is just one of those things we thought we'd bring you in on, but this is where technician is very important. You know, there's parts of every process when you're working on a car that are the moments when it's make or break. The final trim on a windshield is definitely a make or break situation. You're pretty getting to the final stages right before installation here. You've heat shrunk everything, you've done your final cut. Now what you're gonna do is separate the liner, which makes it easy to install. So what you're seeing them pull there is the liner of the film. This is the adhesive of the film that's going to stick to your windshield. Again, there's many of you that know about this stuff, but for those that don't know, that is one of the spots. You're trying to avoid contamination here, but also you have to pull the liner and wet behind it so you can separate the liner on the inside and lay the adhesive down on the windshield. What you'll see now is you're gonna see him roll it up. Are you guys gonna reverse roll this? Okay, so you're gonna see the reverse roll. Some people will do like a Frankenstein install, some will do a reverse roll, and that's what you're gonna watch here. So what they're doing is they're rolling this up, and what's going to happen is they're going to make it really simple where they unroll it on the inside, probably from left to right, my guess is. And this will be very, very interesting to watch if you can see through the windshield here. All right, guys, we're inside now. What you're gonna see is we're gonna start the reverse roll. So they're gonna tuck the bottom corner, kind of shimmy it into place. It's pretty good for them that they have two hands. Sometimes it's pretty difficult with just one. And so now they got the mirror, they go around it. You boys had a little issue with that mirror, huh?
A little bit.
Okay, so there they go. Liner's being pulled. As you guys saw, that's why they did the reverse roll. They're gonna set it into place. Like I said, this is a time where they're gonna take their time. They're not touching anything. They don't wanna touch the upper felt or upper part of your headliner. Now they're gonna check and see, is this into place? What you're really looking for here during the install is there any light showing through? Okay, so you want to make sure the film is kind of shimmied into place. That's why you have so much liquid under here. When we were talking earlier, if we have that part in the video, there is a ton of liquid. So when you get film, one of the most important things you can do is let it really, really, you know, dry out over, I tell my customers 2 weeks. And even though we're in high heat Vegas or here in Phoenix, I still think 2 weeks is what you should do. So what they're doing now, there's a lot of little intricacies on this windshield that they're getting the film to sit behind, because you don't, last thing you want is a customer to take it home and go, I can see light through my, where the film isn't where it should be. And so now they'll get it out by their hands, and then the reason that they do this is if you run over with a squeegee with too much film, you'll actually crease it and they'll have to start over, which is, you know, something we've all experienced. I know the internet experts probably haven't experienced it, but we have. And you don't want to have to start over in this period. But now they're just kind of making sure this is settled in. Okay, you see him go through with his hand. Okay, there's a lot of film. Let me go ahead and brush it out with my hand. Perfect. Now this isn't the final squeegee. This is just kind of to set it into place. The film that you're seeing, remember, is on the outside. That you know, cloudy look, that's the outside. That's not the film itself. That's just from the installation on the exterior. And this is just, you know, picture perfect. Don't worry about those. If you guys have never watched Tint, don't worry about those squeegee noises. That's how it's supposed to sound. I know we kind of take for granted sometimes, if you've been around this, what it can sound like installing film. And people were like, oh, you're going to scratch my window. None of this can scratch. And you'll see he's going to take a tool, a reach tool, and he's going to get down. There's a very, very large hump right here in the windshield. Believe it or not, this is a night vision. So right here where you see him working his tool, if you can pick up my hand, is to reach in between that and the dash where that's a tight point. And so this to me has been a very, very smooth install. As everybody who's in here right now will tell you, there's times you don't have such a smooth install. I've been guilty of many in my career. So now it's looking around. They're going to go into final squeegee mode here, I'm guessing. So you're going to see he's got a tight area here. He's trying to get the liquid out. He's going to use a reach tool to get it to lay down in there. And again, this is kind of what you're paying for. You know, Zay and I were talking earlier on, if that's in this part of the video, this is what you're paying for, is all the little intricacies, all the little things that go into making this work. So you're seeing them get the liquid out with a reach tool, and now they'll go into what I'm guessing is the final squeegee with, looks like the Blue Max, which is a little bit, you know, harder tool that allows you to get all the little, but this is why I say, guys, for everybody that's watching this for the first time, you want to let your tint sit for a couple weeks, okay? Because look at all the liquid that he's pushing out. You can only get so much out. Nobody's gonna get 100% of it out. So you wanna make sure you leave time. And so now they'll do an outside. So now you saw all that clear up. Okay, so now they're gonna do a final look around. And what'll happen here is that you're just gonna see, okay, where's any liquid falling out? Like you said, the speed of install is important too, because if you look from top to bottom, if you don't have that squeegeed out properly, what'll happen is it'll start to suck in some contaminants from the headliner. So here's what everybody's doing now. You come together as a team, two guys sitting in here, we're out here filming, and you start to point things out, right? You go, okay, well, I see something here, well, I see something here, right? And the reason you do that is, Zaya just kind of talked about it. You're trying to get this down as fast as possible. One thing people don't think about is you can have stuff flush into your film after installation if it's not completely down. I mean, silly things like that that you have to learn. And again, this is, so I would look and go, okay, guys, what do you have? Okay, that's on the outside. That's a little chip mark, right? But this is what people will do in a good installation is they'll start to point some things and go, let's make sure that's not an actual contaminant. We talked about it in educating on film about what is good levels of contaminants. Look, on something like this, you're talking about a 2003 number one, so you have a lot of different variables, right? There's a lot of dirt and stuff and grime that's all over, so it's your prep. But here's the thing, you may see somewhere around 4 to 5 little contaminants in a film like this, I would think. We're basically seeing none right now, but reality is, man, if you roll up and you pick up film and you go, I see 1 to 2 things, that's a pretty good install. I know, again, we have a lot of internet warriors out there that act like they install everything perfectly. Great shops will actually tell you that. Hey, expect to see 1 or 2 things. The rule of thumb I'm gonna keep repeating, wait 2 weeks, okay? Because you really don't know all the time what's a contaminant, because sometimes it just looks distorted in your eye because there's just so much water behind the film, even though they did the best job they could to go ahead and get this out. So now you'll see they're gonna do some detail work in and around this rear view mirror here. And so this is one of the spots that you would point out if you're looking at it, as he was just touching. So you would say, is this all laying the way that it should? That would be a point that you would look at as an installer if you were going through a QC process. But as you guys see, we kind of brought you in on a windshield. You got to see every little part of an install. The best part of it is that you kind of see that it's not that easy, right? That's one of the things that we like to educate our customers in Las Vegas. I know Zaya does here in Phoenix, is that, guys, this is highly technical work. So when people look around and they go, I want to save $300 or $400 on tint, you're going to usually do it in two places: cost and cheaper, worse tint, and secondly, on the labor. And the labor is highly technical. These guys have been installing for a long time. At the end of the day, you want to pay for that. And I'm happy we're here on my daily, because I got to tell you, I couldn't get back to Vegas with the fishbowl. So I had to get Zaya to get me out of this. And so I'm glad we're a part of it. So now that, look, that they're doing some QC stuff here. They're going to use a tool here to reach down in these tough spaces and get this liquid out. So this would be one of those spaces, if a customer came and picked it up, you would actually tell them, hey, this was a trouble spot. Okay, it's hard to reach there. Let the moisture dry out over a couple weeks. I promise it's going to be fine. We're going to see now door guards, okay? This is one of the things that you can watch and people will have a debate about. Here's how I feel about it here at 48 Detailing. Obviously, they feel identical about it. We have so many electronics. Obviously, it's a 2003. You don't have like this beautiful Escalade over here. That is all tech, okay? Something goes wrong, you short something in the door, you have no idea what it will short in the rest of the system. So for this, these door guards to me are no brainer. He's gonna remove an anti-theft sticker, as Zaya said. I think it's kind of served its purpose. So you don't want to install over these things. So if you're somebody that has a bunch of stickers down here, you obviously want them removed. Because it's just there'll be a big water and air pocket behind there. So we want the film to have as much to adhere to. Obviously, there are certain glasses, and I don't know how much you guys run into this, where the etching is really, really, really thick. You would have to shave that or use some steel wool on that as well. This is not that. So what I'm talking about is here. Some of that is very, very thick on certain manufacturers' glass. That's not the case here. But yeah, you want to prep it. You see that he used a stainless steel blade on that, perfectly safe. But I'm a big believer in the door guards. And so you're going to have two things to think about when you prep this window. First of all, you're going to think about these gaskets that are very, very old and very dirty. So you're going to see him spray the water down the sides. The thing is that if you don't get these clean, this is where contaminants on old vehicles and even brand new vehicles comes from. So you'll see him swipe down the side. Let's go ahead and show the towel. Okay, so it's almost like we've done this before. But this is where your contamination is going to come from. And so you can never really over prep those areas, but you can kind of get stuck on them if you don't realize you can have black coming out forever and ever and ever from these gaskets. You just want to get any loose type of dirt and grime that would go into the film. So this is kind of just one of those normal prep procedures that if you have it right, you just do it without thinking almost. And there's a lot of little things when you're doing an older vehicle, because obviously I know a lot of people watching this are going to be into the Land Cruisers and the LXs. One of the things that I tell people, be realistic about your vehicle. Once you get age on it, it's not going to look like the install on a brand new Escalade or on a brand new Land Cruiser, which we've had some history with here on the podcast. But I would just tell everybody, be very realistic, and if you choose the right shop, this is going to go seamless. All right, guys, we're now in full prep mode. You're seeing that he's just using, call him a scratch pad or whatever, very safe for glass. He'll be feeling for any contaminants, but when you talk about having your glass completely clean, this is the way to do it. And so he'll roll it down. Now, really important to get the top edge right. Both inside and out, you'll see these going just a little over because you don't want anything off the top edge seeping into your film. Because like I said, because this has been shrunk on the peel board, what will happen is it'll almost suction to the glass. When it does that, it can pull in water and stuff from everywhere else. And so you'll see he's going to get the top edge really well. Okay, you can see if he pulled it back, it's completely clean. Now he'll squeegee this out. Okay, and when he does this, he'll basically leave a perfect surface. And you see he's overlapping his squeegees here, his squeegee strokes, just to make sure that it's perfectly clean. And when this goes into the side, you'll see him flush that out later on if you're wondering. All right, guys. So now you're going to see he's got three-quarters of it pulled. This is called a two-stage installation. You don't have to pull, you see some guys like to bottom load, they'll pull the door panel off, not really necessary. He'll get the top kind of where it needs to go. Okay, it won't be perfect at first, he's just kind of nestling it in there. And so now you can see that he's going to get it refined here. And it's just one of those things that just takes some time. All these bubbles you see and all that white, that's called slip solution again. Using slip solution to allow this to be maneuverable and get the film exactly where he wants. So now you're seeing him precisely lay the film, and he's looking at the top edge. He's got hands everywhere to get the perfect install here. And so remember at the beginning, when we talked about what is a good gap, this is really tight. Again, remember this was computer cut. So we're going to go ahead and do a first little light swipe here to kind of get it to lay down. Okay, you're not going to go super hard with the squeegee. And one of the best things about these installs is now you're seeing that he's pushing a little hard because he got that top edge sealed in there really nicely. So go over it again. Perfect. You see just no real gap at the top. Okay. And remember, Zaya kind of said it in an earlier video, I mean, a fingernail is very, very acceptable. If you want somebody to file down your edges, then simply ask for it, but that's going to be at an additional cost, obviously. So what he's doing now is in case anything came down, in case anything leaked down, he's flushing that out again. Again, this is called a two-stage install. He's going to go ahead and pull the rest of the liner. He's going to flush it out just a little bit more, put a little bit more slip in there that it's going to allow that to slip behind that gasket. Pulls the middle, which allows him to pull the edges in, get the edges tucked, okay? No creasing of the film, the way that he just did it, and now he's going to try to get it to sit down in the gasket. So he's going to take his tool and he's going to pull out the gasket so he can get it to fit down. Again, remember, this is much easier on newer cars, believe it or not. This is not as constructed, this is constructed way better than a newer car would be on these, okay? So just trying to get the film to sit down in there. And you will have times where you just, you're fighting it, you're maneuvering it, you're just trying to be careful with how you do things. And so as you see now, going along the bottom, making sure everything's sitting in there. Also, he's making sure that the edge of the film is sitting below the gasket so it doesn't pull up when you roll the window up and down, which can happen. And so now he'll just squeegee down the middle, okay? And now he'll kind of spread the film out to the edges, which is one of the most important steps here to get this finished out. Actually very smooth for as tight as those gaskets were, very great install. And now just pushing everything to the edge, being methodical about it. Take the easy reach and just kind of get down. Push the water out, okay? Now he's gonna go along the bottom. You'll see all this water come out. Perfect. That is textbook of exactly what you should see on a two-stage install. Again, bottom loading works as well. When you're working on older cars, I think we all kind of have the same opinion. Do I want to be pulling panels unnecessarily? Not necessarily, there's guys that are great at it, but honestly, on something like this, it worked perfectly with a two-stage install. Much easier to pull a more modern panel, believe it or not. There's a lot less screws, a lot less clips than what you would have in this. So to me, just a perfect, flawless install. Now he's going to go. This is kind of one of the most important parts, as we saw on the windshield, is he's going to have some light shining in. You're going to see him do just some detail work and make sure that everything's down, everything's where it needs to be. He'll probably go back, he'll pull the door guards, he'll go back again along the bottom just to make sure everything's sitting properly. And like I said, this is pretty textbook, right? We're not even seeing one bit of contamination, just a perfectly clean install, which again, I'll say it right out, I didn't think it was even possible. I don't know how everybody else felt, but when you're working on a vehicle of this age, to not have any contamination prep is key, and they did a perfect job. And we're out of the fishbowl. That's the most important part. I won't be driving back to Vegas in a complete fishbowl here from Phoenix.
You're lucky I don't have a mic on me.
Hey, just a perfect install. And so again, I mean, I'm very, very shocked. I know the level of work these guys do here at 48 Detailing, but to be honest with you, it's very hard to get some of these old cars in such a great clean install, but it's been just going seamlessly. And I think we even say it, that plotter, the fact that they have a 2003 on the computer software, it takes a lot of pressure off having to knife on the car and do all that kind of stuff. So just a perfect install. Couldn't be happier with how it's going for sure. All right, guys, we're finishing up the project. We're on the back glass. We thought we'd bring in and talk about the defroster lines. As you can see, we have lots of defroster lines. In modern cars, you know, cars of this age, 2003, you're gonna see defroster lines. Let's talk about some facts and some things that could happen. We're seeing thicker and thicker defroster lines now. You might see this on Challenger, Charger as an example. So prep is key, but let's talk about some things that can happen. Upon removal of tint, some of the things you could have happen is you can actually have the defroster lines come off, okay? And it's very normal for that to happen. Somebody's not being negligent. You do your best to avoid that kind of stuff, but it can happen. So one of the things that's really important on these back glasses, especially modern glass with thicker defroster lines, is going to be about prep. You don't want any air or water sitting around the defroster lines. So what will happen is guys will go to extreme lengths, you know, taking steel wool, you know, even some guys, I see guys even using blades at times that are highly technical with this stuff to try to make it so your tint sits flat. Okay, so one of the things that we have to keep in mind is that sometimes you can't get away from the manufacturer. If you have some of these dot matrices, okay, so you see these dots here, you can get on some cars where the film will sit kind of, you know, not quite right on those. So prep is key here. This is why to choose a high value shop like our guys here at 48 Detailing is because all of the prep will allow this film to lay very, very well. Also, this is the reason to use a high quality film, because if it does have to come off, let's say something happens, you know, I damaged the film taking something out of the trunk, the higher quality adhesive that you have, the less likely you are to pull defroster, but it is still a worry. So what we're finishing up, we're on the last piece here. It's been a seamless process, much better than I thought that it would go, but you kind of expect that if you hire the right shop. So we'll bring you in, show you the after when we're done, and we'll show you a little bit of B-roll of these guys prepping and getting this thing ready. Well, the first big project on the 2003 LX 470 is in the books.
Woo!
Yeah, driving from Vegas down to Scottsdale and Phoenix for Barrett Jackson, we knew we had to get it done. We came to 48 Detailing. The work is exceptional. We walked you through everything that we did, from prepping and things to look for. I think this is one of those videos that you can keep referring back to, whether you're trying to do it yourself or you want to hire a shop, which you and I talked about, and you see what goes into a high quality shop and a high quality install. The vehicle's been transformed. What say you?
Yeah, man. I mean, this video is going to be phenomenal. I don't think there's another video out there that goes this much in detail from both perspectives for consumers and also other shops out there. I mean, between me and you, Nick, there's over 25, almost 30 years worth of experience right here when it comes to this industry. And knowing Nick, he's been around hundreds of shops throughout the country, you know, and I've had my fair share of friend shops and companion shops and seeing how things are done. Everything in this video are the basic necessities for a quality tint installation, plus some to get you from that really good install to that amazing install. Of course, while setting reasonable expectations as well.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that we wanted to do with this video is educate consumers on why to get tint. It's not just a looks thing. We care about the looks of our vehicles probably first and foremost, but all the things that tint can do for your vehicle. So for this to be the first project, for my great friend and the team here at 48 Detailing, been an awesome experience, and we'll catch you on the next one.
Take care, guys. Talk to you soon.